Today, I'm going to talk about one of the reasons why our kids seem to be struggling so much as teenagers in today's world, and hopefully open up some possibilities for you so that you can help guide them through this difficult time in their life while they're struggling and trying to figure out who they are. Quite often, as parents, we can very easily get tunnel vision, where all we can do is focus on the negative symptoms of being a teenager, rather than focusing on the source, trying to figure out what's causing my teenager to show up the way that they do in the first place. Here are some of the symptoms that we get fixated on as parents. We don't like their attitude, the talking back, being disrespectful, the dishonesty, thinking that they deserve everything, the entitlement, being withdrawn, being argumentative, and all the other unhealthy behaviors that you notice about your teenager that you don't like. Yet we are reluctant to realize that there could be some core underlying issues going on within our teenagers that we should be becoming more aware of. Let's ask ourselves this question. Could it be possible that our teens have some unresolved emotional issues from their past that could be the reason or one of the reasons for them to be acting out the way that they do? Now, if you've answered yes to this question, then wouldn't it make more sense to focus on addressing the root cause rather than spinning your wheels focusing on the behavior itself? Now, please don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. What I'm not saying by any means is that you should not have consequences for the bad behaviors or let them do as they please. You know, after working with teens for so many years, in the capacity where they feel safe enough to share deeply, I've come to realize and understand a few things that I would love to share with you now. You see, underneath all of those fake smiles and happy faces, buried deep within your children, lies their fears, their self-doubts, and all the other insecurities that they struggle with on a daily basis. Your kids will not let you see this side of them, I promise. Their walls are up, and they hide behind the masks that they have created while constantly pretending that they have everything under control. And they have spent years perfecting this craft. And if you think that all of these insecurities will somehow magically disappear on their own as soon as they hit their 20s, you might have misdiagnosed these symptoms for a bad case of acne. It just doesn't work like that. You can't just ignore it and hope that it's going to run its course and clear up on its own. Now let's talk about some of the unresolved issues that may be in the way of your teenager's full potential. Today I'm going to start off with addressing the self-limiting belief. This is how your kids created those self-limiting beliefs in the first place. Do you remember when your children were born? Do you remember falling in love with them the second that you saw them enter your world? Well, when your children were born into this world, they didn't know much about anything outside of their internal truth about who they really are. They knew intuitively that they were loving beings. They also knew that they were loved by other loving beings. But more importantly, they knew that they loved their self. And the way that they knew this was because of the way that you looked at them. They were seen. They were noticed. They saw you recognize them, and you distinguished them in those moments from everything else unimportant in your life. It was you who assured their greatness and verified their significance in this world as a powerful and magnificent human being. And you didn't need to do anything. You just had to be willing to be present, to see them in all of their highest possibilities, and believe that they are great, without any evidence, without any proof, and without a past to be compared or judged by. And the way that you were able to achieve this was to recognize that they exist. You gave them meaning. You gave them their worth. And when they saw you look at them through your eyes, they knew that they were important. They knew that they mattered. And more importantly, they knew that they were special. As your children grew up, they started to have their own experiences in life. And through those experiences, they started to formulate their own paradigm or belief system for which they could perceive the world and give it meaning. And so they started to create new beliefs about their self. And in a blink of an eye, these newfound beliefs started to replace the internal truth about who they really are, the gifts that they can offer the world, their full potential, and the powerful, loving, and creative person that they once knew themselves to be. I want you to imagine for a moment your child's belief system or paradigm is like a pair of reading glasses that which you gave them when they were younger. And imagine as they grew up, you never adjusted those prescription lenses to meet the demand of their rapidly faltering eyesight. And now imagine them as teenagers who are desperately trying to navigate through their life, expecting to win, expecting to succeed, without even realizing that their vision is distorted. The way that they see the world is skewed. I want you to follow me into a story about little Johnny. When little Johnny was 5 years old, his teacher acknowledged him in front of his mom. And mom let it be known in that moment how extremely proud of him she was. Little Johnny's heart was full of love, and he couldn't wait to get home and share the good news with his dad. As soon as they got home, little Johnny was so excited that he couldn't even wait for the car to stop before he jumped out and ran into the house. Johnny ran from room to room, shouting out loud for his father, but could not find him. Every room that Johnny ran to, the anticipation got more intense. And the last room that Johnny got to was his father's home office, where he does work and pays bills. The door swings open and little Johnny says, Dad, I have something to tell you." In that moment, Johnny's father is frustrated with whatever he's working on and replies, "Not right now, Johnny, give me a minute." Now, in that moment, little Johnny heard his father say several things to him, but not one of them was, "Not right now." What Johnny heard was, "My dad doesn't care about me. I'm not important. I'm not good enough." And on that day, 3 self-limiting beliefs were born into existence for Johnny that may not necessarily be true about the way it really happened. A year later, Johnny's teacher asked him to stand up in class and share. When Johnny was done sharing, he heard some kids burst out into laughter. And as he sat there in silence, Johnny heard his inner voice say, "I'm dumb. Why do I even bother? I'm never going to share again." 3 years later, Johnny's parents divorced and his father moved out of their home. As little Johnny sat up in his room quietly crying his heart out, once again he heard his inner voice say, "I'm not wanted. I should have been a better son. Maybe my dad doesn't love me." A few weeks before Johnny's 16th birthday, his mother notices that he's stopped opening up and communicating with her the way that he used to. She also realizes that Johnny has no ambition and has stopped caring about the things that used to interest him. Johnny is now starting to talk back to her and be disrespectful, and they're constantly fighting, and his mother is fed up and does not know what to do anymore. Johnny has withdrawn from the people that he cares about the most, and he's starting to use drugs and alcohol to numb out the pain of feeling so insecure. I sincerely hope that in these stories you're able to see value for yourself to be a more effective parent, to help you be more aware of what your children need from you, even if they don't really know themselves. May you continue to enlighten yourself through self-awareness and by taking responsibility for the results that you co-create in your relationships. Sometimes the answer to our questions are right in front of us. The real question you should be asking yourself is, am I ready to be vulnerable enough to implement the solution?